Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my video about what's wrong with Snake Eyes. I forgot the official name. I think it's called Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. That seems very old. That seems like a title from like 15 years ago. First of all, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with this movie at all. I'm joking, of course. I just saw it on streaming a few days ago. Obviously, not obviously, you might not know, I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan. Huge fan specifically of the comic book. The cartoon, not so much. I think I did some videos about a year or so ago where I talked about it was very frustrating because the first miniseries of the cartoon was made for like, I don't know, an 8-year-old, like a smart 8-year-old. And by the time they got to the series, it was made for dumb 4-year-olds. So it was very frustrating to get older while the cartoon was targeted towards younger and dumber kids, back in the 80s. But I love the comics. These characters have been very, very important to my life. I mean, probably a third of the reason I enlisted was because of the G.I. Joe comic book. When we rolled into Iraq, the first night of the war, in a pouch, I had a Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, two action figures for, good luck. Because if you read the comics, they were in the same LRP unit in Vietnam. They were United States Army combat veterans. And that's changed a lot. So first of all, for people who are freaking out that I said there's nothing wrong with it, it has the most egregiously bad first third of a movie I think I've ever seen. It seems to actively hate itself while simultaneously being quite uninterested in itself. It's like it's trying to slice its wrist with a butter knife. One of the most frustrating things, the origin of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow from the comic books is perfect. Like, you don't have to do anything. Just film that and it will be epic. Now, I do understand, the realpolitik of it. This is not supposed to be related to the G.I. Joe cartoon or the comic book, but rather related to the G.I. Joe cinematic universe, which is from G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra from 10 years ago, and then G.I. Joe Retaliation. And so I never got the impression that Snake Eyes and that Storm Shadow had the same origin from the comic book. So I do understand why it could be different. But again, you just film the comic book storyline and it's just fine. It works. But then we got into some current year isms. Henry Golding, who I believe is Malaysian British, plays Snake Eyes. And he was cast most likely because starting in 2016 or so, when the Iron Fist TV show or Netflix show was announced, all of a sudden, in a direct reversal of decades of think pieces, they said, this is a martial artist character. He has to be Asian. Whereas for my entire life, I was reading articles written by Asians saying, we are tired of just being portrayed as martial artists and geishas. And now they're like, oh, he's kicking and punching? That's Asian. I mean, come on. They kept clamoring for Iron Fist to be recast as Asian, and obviously it was too late. It didn't happen. But it was put out there in the ether that martial artists have to be Asian. So when it was even hinted that there might be a Snake Eyes movie, there was, think pieces, although there isn't really much thought behind it. It's more of emotion pieces, emotional blackmail pieces. Saying, Snake Eyes has to be Asian because, he's a martial artist. Come on. Not even getting into the fact that Snake Eyes' origin is literally stranger in a strange land, fish out of water. So Snake Eyes was a Vietnam vet, LRP unit, along with Tommy Arashikage. And he had saved Tommy's life. When he went home, his sister was killed by a drunk driver who I think was the brother of Cobra Commander. I understand why you need to cut that stuff out. All you need to say is they're two vets, and Snake Eyes saved Storm Shadow's life, so he owes him. And then when Snake Eyes is having a bad time in his life, Tommy's going to say, "Hey, come with me, come work for the family business." Instead, it's this really wonky. Like for the first 40 minutes, you would swear. And I'm not joking, this is not exaggeration. It feels like a script that was written in 1995 for Lorenzo Lamas. It feels like an episode of Renegade. So Snake Eyes is like this pit fighter trying to find the guy who killed his dad, and he rolled dice, and it was Snake Eyes. So that part is just, you're like, okay, first of all, this first scene feels like the same first scene from the recent Mortal Kombat movie, like shot for shot, everything. Even like, you know, in the locker afterwards. So Snake Eyes gets recruited by, oh, this is so stupid, Storm Shadow's cousin. He's like, you're really good at fighting. You should come work for me. It's like, oh, is he going to be enforcer? Is he, he's going to go collect loans? No, he's going to cut fish open to put MAC-10s inside so they can ship weapons to... What? Why did it... If I needed someone for that job, I would not go find someone who could fight. Just go to a fish market and just hire people. It's like, hey, do you want to make more money than here? Wink, so they know it's criminal. So anyway, he goes to work there, and then he meets Tommy, who is... Oh, this sounds so stupid. He's kind of undercover in his own cousin's fish arms. God, it's bad. Then the fighting starts, like the real fighting. And it was actually pretty darn good. I was like, what? This fight in the warehouse is actually pretty dope. And then they end up in Japan, and we get to meet the Arashikage clan. And so at one point they're like, here comes the master. We're going to meet the master. And you see this old, kind of doughy woman walk out from stage left, and you're like, oh, the master's going to be behind. And then I remembered that it's current year, and I go, if the master of this ninja clan is the out-of-shape 70-year-old woman, I'm going to frickin' scream. And it was. And I actually did scream. I was like, God, it's so current year. And then you have like the hard master, it's the guy from the raid, the blind master, who's a black guy. And you're like, the whole point about a ninja clan, it's an insular, closed-off society. That's why it was so crazy that this blonde-haired white boy from America was going to join a ninja clan. And now this ninja clan is as diverse as like every college brochure these days. So that part really got annoying. And man, I still have not gotten to any of the good parts, have I? Okay, so he set up with 3 tests. And as I believe Pitch Meetings pointed out, you get into this ninja clan and you basically never have to display any prowess at martial arts at all. There's something with a water bowl, there's some other test I forgot about, and then there's something with 2 giant snakes, which I was fine with, having watched the cartoon. I was like, yeah, 2 giant snakes, it's not... Oh, did you think this was set in the real world? So first 40 minutes, absolutely horrible. But then there's some bright spots. Henry Golding is a very good actor. He's a good, like, action guy. He's tall, he's broad-shouldered, he looks like an action guy. So I liked him. I didn't see him as the Snake Eyes from the comic. I saw him as a new character. Now, some people have gotten really bent out of shape that his Snake Eyes, costume is not seen until the final shot, and it's got like this weird helmet on it. But he's in multiple different ninja costumes with a black mask throughout the movie. So I felt like I saw him as Snake Eyes throughout the whole movie. So then, they start introducing the Cobra plot. And for some reason, from all of the reviews, I thought the Cobra plot was like super minimal. Like it was just like a vague reference, basically an Easter egg. No, we got Scarlet and the Baroness, and they're in like half the movie. I mean, they appear in the middle of the movie. They're not, throughout but they're in a lot of it. We get some Cobra troopers. And then they established that Cobra's been around for a while, which is obviously different than the comics. But about halfway through, they kind of get into the story, which is, is a revenge, finding and where it gets really interesting is that Tommy, even though he's got some character flaws, you totally understand where he's coming from. And the actor playing Tommy is a really good actor. And I mentioned this to everyone. Even people who hate this movie, they're like, yeah, Tommy was like off the charts good acting. Like it's shocking how good of an actor he is. So you're very much on his side. He's a very charismatic actor and just really, really good. But then they start doing this stuff where it's like Snake Eyes is basically working for Cobra because he's being blackmailed into it, essentially. And you're like, am I nuts? Or did this turn into a good episode of Renegade? They exist. So at the middle, things that have been established at the beginning are starting to get more complicated. I thought it was going to be all like inside the dojo. No, it's all throughout Tokyo. The fight scenes were very clear and easy to follow. Like, they were good. And there were different types of them. It wasn't just like the same fight 5 times. It was different environments, different types of fights, different types of weapons. And then the dynamics of the people were changing throughout because, basically Snake Eyes had to work for the enemy to get the truth about his father's murder, or basically beheaded the murderer, essentially. They introduced Scarlet, and she's not that great of an actress. Baroness was pretty cool. But mainly it was just like Tommy and Snake Eyes, that part worked. Well, at the end, you totally understand Tommy's part. And they are definitely setting up a sequel that will never happen. Then Snake Eyes gets invited to join G.I. Joe. I was talking to my friend, it's like, all we needed was like one line. It's like, because Henry Golding is like in his mid-30s. You just need one line about how he's a veteran. And then that would have made a lot of, his combat experience and his ability to handle combat, make more sense. And then it would just make fans like me and other people relax. It's like, okay, so he actually was a military, because it doesn't make sense they're just offering some random guy. So like, do you want to, it'd be funny if they're like, do you want to join G.I. Joe? And he's like, yeah. And then they just drop him off at like a strip mall recruiter. It's like, okay, so you're going to enlist, you're going to go to basic training, you're going to go to AIT, you're going to get your first unit, you're going to be mopping floors and maybe a deployment somewhere. And then once you've been in for like 5 or 6 years and you're a sergeant, then you can apply to work on the G.I. Joe team. Like, you just get to just cut to the head of the line in this. Okay. But I just want to reiterate that first 40 minutes, god-awful. Some changes I understand, because it's in the cinematic universe. Some are just kind of, like, weird. They kind of mess up the whole stranger in a strange land, fish out of water thing. But they do introduce different elements. Story. It's not a complicated story, but it does have its twists. And some of these twists, you're like, I don't know where you're going with this. And then, 40 minutes later, you're like, oh shit, you landed that. All right then. I absolutely loved the giant snakes. Everyone hates that shit. I love it. It's straight out of the cartoon. It is straight out of the cartoon. And again, the G.I. Joe cinematic universe has much more in common with the cartoon than the comic book. It has very little to do with the comic book. There is a frustrating bit that you actually never get to see Snake Eyes become a ninja, but he just has ninja skills at the end. I mean, they show he's a good fighter at the beginning, but you need like one montage. I don't remember a single montage. And it's kind of unclear how long he's been there, but all you need is one line. It's like, so you've grown a lot over this last year. It's like, all right, he was there for a year. Everyone looks the same, but you just established 2 lines of dialogue, established that he used to be in the military, he served, he went to war a couple times. That's why he's, good in fight, combat. Then we also established he's been there for a while, so no one's flipping out. It's like you just had a ninja movie where a guy learns to be a ninja and you never show him training to be a ninja. That's weird. And it is frustrating that stuff is just not in there. And then there's, I forgot about this. So when I saw the old lady as the Ninja Clan master, I said, yeah, it's 2021, all right. But then they introduce, I saw this movie a couple days ago, I'm blanking on her name. There's a female ninja. So you're like, oh, Jesus. She's just going to be roasting all the guys, and she's going to be a better... Nope. She gets punched in the face and knocked to the ground twice by the hero. She's generally better due to more training, speed, and technique. Not that all of a sudden she can do one-hitter quitters on men. And that's kind of the point. Like, I was shocked, like, a current year movie actually had a woman get punched in the face and not just, like, laugh it off. Like, she gets hit once in the face and she's down on the ground. And this is from the hero. I was like, I did not expect that to happen. So overall, is it a recommend? I would say no. I mean, the first 40 minutes is so bad. I think unless you have like this lifelong connection to Snake Eyes like I do, literally like using him as a good luck charm in real life war, it's just going to be so tough to get through. If you eventually see it on cable, it's starting at 7. All right, go have dinner at 7. Tune in about 8. And then you'll be like, that was okay. It was good fights. I didn't understand where some of the stuff came from, but the rest was kind of all right. So anyway, thanks for watching.